Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is about 6 minutes after 10:06. It is a Tuesday winter morning. Hope everyone's doing good. Thanks and a big shout out to folks chiming in and supporting this channel, helping out with subscribing to this channel and following these wacky videos that I do. I really appreciate it. This is a passion project for me. It's always been. It kind of goes beyond that for me. It's kind of more of a way of life, and it's also, like I've always said before, it's always a big thing for, you know, uh, a source of inspiration. All of these movies that I talk about, and all of the components that make up these, amazing movies that I talk about and movies that I really love, are are all like just a huge personal influence on me, but especially artistically, if you want to call it that. Which to me, it's all the same thing. It always, always has a deep a deep meaning, even though on one level it's out of a pure enjoyment and a pure based on a pure like that escapist feeling that films give me, where it's that that leaving the world behind for about 2 hours, and the enjoyment that usually brings, but which is the fun aspect. But then it also, on a more serious level, really inspires me, and especially with my band Quantum, it's really evolved over the years to where films and all of the different facets that it takes to create these films and all of those ingredients that make up these films that I love, that I feel make them really rich and inspiring and just a whole lot of fun. All of those things now are like the biggest kind of influence on the music that I write. It's been an interesting journey, and it's just or kind of trajectory over the years. It's just kind of gotten more and more of a thing for me. And people who know me personally, they probably get that or understand that. So it's evolved to where it's a regular thing, a regular thing that just helps me process ideas and formulate concepts or ideas, things for my band, and so it goes beyond just what movies traditionally are, is just entertainment. So it's very, very cool. And since I'm talking a little bit about Quantum, I'll just give a little bit of an update again. We got some new developments with the band. So we have some shows coming up in the springtime and summertime. Slowly booking things for the band. This time of year, we're in the middle, pretty much at the end of February, which is just crazy. But this time of year, typically things are slow here in Midcoast Maine for the most part. Fortunately, this band, and just music in general in this area, there's been a few new venues that have opened up, and there's been a really cool wave of activity for being, in the middle of winter here in Maine. It's always a seasonal thing here because typically there are gigs, there are lots of things to do, more so during the summer. Shows to go see or shows to play at, and just overall, there's more activity for like events or what have you during the summer. But this year has been really cool. There's been more. It feels like there's been more happenings going on during the winter. There's been more activity going on. There's been a lot more, opportunities, I think, for local artists and bands to play. There's been more opportunities for people who love to go see live music. I feel like there's more there's been more opportunities in that department too. So it's been very cool. There's been a couple of new venues that have opened up. Most notably, which is probably the place that's really kind of revving things up, or they have been, at least for this, you know, since we ushered in 2023. This place called the Gypsy Rose Tavern, which is on Elm Street in Camden. Super cool place. It's a tavern, really great food. They have a an amazing beer selection, and they really are kicking things up as far as having music and entertainment. They started out with kind of ushering in things or kicking things off with a weekly open mic now that they have, and after that they've been proactively really pushing booking lots of music, and it's been pretty fabulous. I've gotten a chance to play there twice. Our last show that we did with Quantum was there a few weeks ago, and I've also gone there quite a few times to see some bands play, some friends of mine and whatnot, and it's very cool. They typically have the open mic every Thursday, and then they usually have music either Friday or Saturday, and they even have music on Sundays. So there's a whole a whole buzz or nest of activity going on there. And there's been a couple other places that have been doing music this year. Through the winter, the Underground Lounge, which is in Belfast, a very cool place. They do it. It's more sporadic, but they've been having lots of events there. Very, very cool. And there's a couple other things that have been going on. So it's been very nice. I look at it mostly for me. It's been really nice because there are things to go see. There's things to kind of go out and experience, and some good quality. I've always said there's always been a really great music scene here in Mid Coast Maine. There's a plethora of talented musicians and artists, and also fully realized bands. So my favorite thing, my favorite two activities to do when I have the time to do it is always to go either to go see some live music or to go to the movies. And so it's been cool. It's been nice. There's been a lot of activity. And as far as the Quantum thing goes, we've been we this past summer was a really great summer. I felt like towards the end of the summer, going into the fall, the band really kind of, I don't know, I felt like we kicked up things a little bit extra as far as momentum. We had just put out our last album, In Dreams I Saw Chapter 1, in June of last year. And we had a really good summer. We played a lot of gigs, and luckily everything for the most part worked out pretty well. We sold a lot of records. We had a little bit more of an online presence. Most of our stuff is available on Bandcamp and also SoundCloud, but primarily it's on Bandcamp. We sold a lot more records this year and this time around digitally, which was nice. Before it was always pretty touch and go or very, very slow, but this year was a little bit better. We also make up, when we do shows, I usually have physical copies. I am kind of old school that way, but we had a whole bunch of CDs made during that time, and we pretty much have sold out of the first big run of CDs, and so that was really nice. And we had usually in the past when we've done shows or we were where we've gone into a season with a new album, I usually try to book a lot of things around that time period, because I've done a couple of formal CD release shows with Quantum. The first few albums that we put out, we didn't really have a formal album release show. We just kind of played a lot of shows, had the album with us, and just kind of promoted it online and in person. But I decided to try to do some new things with the band and how we did those kinds of things a few years ago with the second to last studio album that we put out, The Stars Beneath Our Feet. We ended up having like a formal album release party, and I felt like that was a really cool thing. It was the first time we did that with Quantum, and it was a real big success. And so moving forward, I thought, okay, let's do that when we put out some new material. So fast forward about 4 years ago already, almost, or at that time a little less than 4 years ago, and we put out our most recent album, In Dreams I Saw Chapter One. And because 4 years, 3 or 4 years had gone by, we hadn't, we were pretty dormant as a band. I was still writing music, but we had a lot of time, a lot of downtime. We didn't play any shows for a while for obvious reasons, but we kept working, and I kept working on a lot of material, and I ended up, luckily through, through all that time off of writing a lot of new material. So we ended up recording enough material for two albums. So we basically have another album, which is In Dreams I Saw Chapter Two, ready to go. So we're looking towards the idea of putting that out later this year and seeing how things go with our season and things around that. But it's nice. It's a nice feeling. I've never been in that situation where we basically recorded two albums together, and we spent one part of the season or one season just focusing on that, and now we have this other album that was recorded at the same time. It was all mixed during the same time. It was all pretty much mastered around the same time, and also the artwork was all done. So it's just a case of a couple of adding a couple, fine tuning it, and then actually duplicating the physical copies of it and getting it uploaded. But other than that, the second album, which is the sequel to In Dreams I Saw, or Chapter Two of that, is ready to go. So we're looking towards putting that out this year at some point. And again, every season's different, every year's different. We kind of still live in pretty chaotic times, so we're seeing how things go. But looking forward to when the time is right, and the I guess the stars align that we'll find the right time to put that out. But I'm really excited about putting out this next album. I'm I think it's a really great record. I was really proud of In Dreams I Saw Chapter One. We had put a lot of work into it. We really worked on the material really hard. We got to really flesh out a lot of material. And for the most part, from what I've heard from people, and feedback that I've gotten around that album, that people seem to really dig it and enjoy it. And so this album was recorded, under those same kind of conditions. So looking forward to that. And as far as shows go, we have two shows coming up at the All Roads Festival, which is coming up in the springtime in May, which I'm really excited about. Originally, we were going to just do one show, but things kind of worked out, and we're going to be doing two different sets that Friday and Saturday in May. And that's going to be at the All Roads Festival, which is a really cool festival, music festival. It's mostly kind of catered towards like kind of the indie rock crowd, but they have lots of different music there, different styles, folk rock, some electronic, some hip hop, some more fringe kind of punk rock stuff. So they have a pretty good broad mix of things. And we'll be playing it's going to be on a Friday and Saturday. And the Friday we're going to be playing at Marshall Wharf, the Three Tides in Belfast, which is probably the coolest venue in Belfast. It's right on the water, so looking forward to that very much. And then the next day, we're going to be playing, which will be on that Saturday, we will be playing at the Underground Lounge, which I mentioned at the top of the show. The Underground Lounge is a really new venue that just opened. It's part of the new Maskers Theater. The Maskers Theater was or is a theater group that's been in existence in Belfast for many, many years. And they, I guess, last year moved to a new location and basically bought this old church and kind of converted it into this theater. And I've gone, the upstairs for this building or this venue is the theater where they do their productions, they do their theater shows. But then in the basement, they have this thing that's called the Underground Lounge, and it's a pretty amazing place. I've played a gig. I played a gig there. They started doing music there, I think, in the fall of last year, and since then they've been doing like a bi-monthly kind of series. I played a show there with another band, Bone Broth. We played a show there in like around Thanksgiving, I think it was, and it's a super cool venue, super cool, great. It's got great acoustics. It's a nice intimate venue. Very cool, very cool. I was really impressed, and I've gone there to see music also and seen some really great bands. And yeah, it's a really great scene. It's got a lot of potential. It seems like there's a little bit of buzz around that venue. A lot of people come out to it. So that Saturday of the All Roads Festival, we're going to be playing at the Underground Lounge with Quantum at like a 4 o'clock show. So very excited about playing there, and we'll be, both nights will be kind of sandwiched in with a bunch of other bands. So it should be a lot of fun. And then just recently booked a show for Quantum where we're going to be playing at the amphitheater in Camden. And the amphitheater in Camden, we've been playing that gig and we've been playing at that venue for almost 5 years now, which is crazy. And it's a really fun gig. Out of the shows that we play or that we book or that I book, and out of the things that I kind of look forward to doing every year, the amphitheater is in some ways one of the biggest shows for me, and I think for our band that I look forward to in some ways to the most. It's just mainly because it's such a beautiful location. It's right on the water. It's in the ocean. The amphitheater in Camden is just an amazing spot. The acoustics are great. The scenery is great. It's a beautiful spot. And it's kind of loose, and there's plenty of areas for people to sit and to kind of relax or bring food and have a little bit of a picnic or just hang out with their kids or whatever. It's such a great venue, and we've been doing that gig for about almost 4 or 5 years, which is crazy. And we usually do it every year during the summer, and it's because of the location and everything that usually that entails. I look forward to it every year, and we usually play like a 2 hour set. So we'll be doing that again this year, and I think that's going to be in July. And stay tuned for more details with that. And we usually play like a 2 hour set. And again, like for us, that I feel like that gig in particular has always been a really great, kind of building block for us, or a stepping stone. It's always helped us, kind of expand our sound. And we've always kind of along the way through that show, because it's real loose and it's kind of informal. It's not like your typical gig, like at a bar or at a club. It's a very very unique kind of atmosphere. It feels like along the way we've always made some new fans from from those shows, and it's again it's just such a cool atmosphere. It's an amazing spot, and the acoustics are great. So very much looking forward to doing that show. So stay tuned for more things around that, and there's going to be more promotion in the next couple of months or so around the All Roads Festival. Everything has been kind of up now as far as promotional things go, around that festival. So really excited about those shows coming up, and seeing what else transpires as far as booking some more things. and also the potential of booking a show around a like an album release party, which I think will be really cool. And I'm looking, if that happens and if I can make that happen this year, I'm definitely looking forward to bringing on other artists to be included with that show, because that's one thing that's been really great with this year and also last year is I'm been in contact and I've been doing more shows with other electronic artists, and there's kind of this, a really cool there's a really cool pool of kind of like-minded electronic artists that are doing original material that are all just, they're all pretty fabulous, and I'm generally fans of their music. They're cool people, and we've been doing some shows together. So very much looking forward to that. I've done some shows with my friend Enor, or Ronnie. He has an electronic group. He played at our CD release show this year. We also did a couple of shows or a few shows with my friend Spencer, who has a electronic group called Modular for Madness, or Method for Madness, which is really great, really terrific. And then my other friend Halsey, who does this really cool modern, kind of urban, saturated hip hop electronica music, and we did a show together last year. So it's been cool, like kind of expanding and playing with other artists that are kind of doing things that are a little bit similar to what we're doing. And at the end of the day, it's all like original base material. So I'm looking forward to doing more things like that. And also my friend Tom Luther, who has a group called Sphere Music. We've also been playing a few shows with him. So it's been a cool development in that department. So today's show brings me back to a movie company or movie label that is probably my favorite company of all time. My favorite, like, company that specializes in just really obscure exploitation movies. Mostly this whole batch of these incredibly strange foreign films that I have never seen before. Virtually every movie, well, yeah, pretty much every movie I've been buying from, and the name of the label is Mondo Macabre. They are definitely my favorite label right now. Every movie I've been buying more and more titles. I just recently went to Bull Moose on Sunday with some friends, and I picked up another few of their titles. And virtually everything I've been buying from that company and that label, well, everything I should say, is all they're all these movies that I've never seen before, and I've just been blown away by the level of diversity that they offer, and the quality that they put out, and just how great these weird, and salacious underground movies, just how great they really are, and the fact that I've never seen them. Their prices are pretty phenomenal. They all come with, really great packages. They generally come with some really great bonus features or special features. The quality of the Blu-rays are just amazing. They're all remastered from like the original negative or the print of the film. And it's been a whole, for me as a fan of film, it's been a whole incredible world of discovering all of these new things. And again, they pretty much all of the films I've bought through Mondo Macabre are essentially, they're all foreign films. I don't think I think I might have one title. I think it's called Hunting Ground, but I gotta check. Which I think that is an American movie, I believe. But for the most part, I could be wrong. But I know for a fact that pretty much everything I've been buying from that company, virtually every film has been a foreign film. Lots of films from Germany, lots of films from Asia, like the Philippines, which has been so incredibly wild and strange to see that there are all of these, really obscure films from all of these parts of the world. Uh, there's been lots of German films, Italian films, some French films. Also, quite a few Spanish films. So basically, films from all around, all around the globe that are specializing, that are all about, you know, that are all a part of this amazing kind of exploitation world that I've been just discovering, and it's been awesome, and it all goes back to how I've been kind of moving towards, exploring those kinds of things even more, you know, rediscovering a lot of movies of my youth that were, really great, low budget exploitation movies, movies that I grew up watching, and then I bought, the last few years that I've bought on Blu-ray, and then diving deep into that and discovering all of these other films that are in those kind of respective genres, but I had never seen, but I never got a chance to see before, or they were even just so obscure that a lot of people never saw them. So that's kind of where my head has been at the last few months, and it's been super cool, super awesome, and like again, like I said, it's been a whole new world of discovery. And this movie is no exception. This movie, again, I got this from the Mondo Macabro label, my favorite label again, like I just said, and that is 1965's House of Terrors. And this movie is just bonkers crazy. This is a Japanese movie. It came out in 1965. Never heard of it before. I just watched it last night. It was directed by Hajime Sato, and it was released by the Toll Company. And the cinematographer is Sho Nikishima, who the cinematographer. Well, starting off talking about this film, literally I bought this on Sunday, never seen it before, and I'm at a point now where if I see a movie that is part of the Mondo Macabro world, I buy it. I just buy it because I have had such great luck. I've been blown away by every title that I bought, and this movie is no exception. This movie, the thing that's so amazing is this movie is 1965, wicked old school, and it's all black and white. I'm a huge fan of black and white films, and I haven't actually seen too many films lately that are shot in black and white. I haven't bought any. I can't think of any exploitation movies that I've bought in recent time that are shot in black and white. So I was really excited about that. And the transfer of this film is just so gorgeous. It's so lush. It's like the black and white is so incredibly amazing. And this movie is kind of like essentially a ghost story. It's essentially, the people trapped in a dark house. Very much influenced. This film was very much influenced by a lot of American films that were coming out at that time, particularly William Castle, who made films like the House on Haunted Hill. Just a stunningly amazing film unto itself. William Castle's such a phenomenal American horror exploitation director, and this film was very much influenced by that, by directors like William Castle, particularly like the classic film House on Haunted Hill and various other films that came out in the '60s, where they're all shot in this really stark, gorgeous, with this gorgeous black and white aesthetic, and it's uh, it's it's amazing. It's like I said, the black and white and the transfer of this film is unlike anything I've seen in recent time. I mean, it's just gorgeous. And again, this story is just bonkers. Like it really is. Japanese directors and a lot of Japanese cinema is known to have this really, just wild and kind of insane narrative around a lot of their movies. And the basic premise of the story is a man, Chonin Mitaki, crazy dies crazy after a long after long agony, and his body is cremated. His widow, Yoshi, investigating on the past of her husband, goes to the mansion where he lived. Yoshi, investigating the past of her husband, goes to the mansion where he lived in a building leftly nicknamed Satan's Pit. A suggestive statue of Satan is situated in the atrium of the mansion, managed by a hunchback caretaker. Soon, some visitors reach the house, and the hunchback keeper warns them of all of the evil that is inside. Um, and again, this movie is just so. It's got. It's super campy. It's super ridiculous. The atmosphere for this film is pretty much completely spellbinding. I mean, the atmosphere is just awesome. It's incredibly disturbing. There are these subplots around people who are having these affairs, and there are scenes of uh, that involve the sexual nature of things that are highly disturbing, and there are scenes of torture in this film. But then it also has this really kind of campy, ridiculous narrative to it. But it's all set in that classic kind of William Castle thing of, the haunted house, um, and it's super demented. It's super fun. It's really trashy. It's super low budget. It's an ultra low budget film, but it's so entertaining. But it has all of those layers where it's got this wild premise of a story, and that involves like this whole these characters that are using kind of sexual manipulation to get what they want. There's elements of torture, and it's deeply disturbing at times, like deeply disturbing, and yet it's a really fun movie at the same time. But yet, and then again, it's also set in this kind of traditional gothic mansion, and so it's just it's just got so many original elements to this film. And as I was watching this film, like I just watched this film for the first time last night. I was just blown away by the nature of this film and how like certain aspects regarding to like how disturbing this film kind of is or is. And I'm like, this came out in 1965. Like, that's nuts. Like, this movie's kind of batshit crazy, and this came out in 1965. Like, it's unbelievable. And it goes to some pretty dark places, and it has some really disturbing things in this film, and yet at the same time, it's real campy and light and fun and entertaining, and it's like I'm going on an amusement ride, or going to an amusement park. So it has like all of these different layers, and I think that that's like that can be summarized as a trait for a lot of Japanese cinema. I have seen lots of Japanese films over the years, and I noticed that there are things about that cinema and particularly Japanese cinema where they'll the filmmakers will explore certain taboos, and they'll go there. They will explore them, but they obviously are influenced by, like, say, Western directors, so they might have kind of traditional tropes or traditional settings, but they're not afraid to go into those deep dark places. And Takashi Miike is probably my favorite Japanese director, and he's notorious for kind of exploring all of these worlds of taboo that lots of filmmakers never don't have the balls to do, or if they do explore those things, they just don't have that skill set that Takashi Miike had or has. And I feel like that's a real interesting thing with Japanese culture and Japanese cinema, is that they're willing to go to these places and explore them, and combining all of these other elements. So a lot of the films and a lot of the, well, more so around a lot of the traditional narratives that we might be accustomed to say here in the United States, there it's very different. It's a very different take. It's a very original kind of hodgepodge of like blending of different styles, and it's super interesting. And again, this was a movie I never saw before. Totally new discovery. I'm just I was blown away by that this movie came out in '65. Just wild, just wild. The black and white, like I said, the music is just incredible. Um, it's a pretty phenomenal experience, and it only has the only thing it has some special features on here, and they're not very long. Unfortunately, it's like a 10 minute uh, segment where they interview a few different guys, or this one guy in particular who is he seems like he's very much an expert in the world of Japanese horror films, especially in the exploitation world, and it's super interesting. It's very very short. It's only like a 10 minute interview, but it's fascinating. And again, watching it, it feels like a whole new world is kind of unraveling before my eyes of all of these new things to explore. Uh, just just incredible. And the company that put this movie out was this studio called the Toe Company. And from discovering this movie, I've been checking out and researching this. The Toe Company was as a company that started, I believe, in like the 50s, and they're still actually around. And it's a Japanese company that has specialized in putting out you know decades of all of these various exploitation movies. Uh, Kamen Riders, one film, Slam Dunk, Shin Kamen. They've even been involved with some of the Dragon Ball Z movies. Uh, Kamen Rider. Uh, I mean, you're talking probably over 100 films. It's wild. Uh, Battles Without Honor and Humanity. One Piece is another film. Uh, just a huge company. I mean, just wild. And again, this is something I just recently discovered. So it's been a fascinating, uh, you know, foray into discovering all of these other films that I never even heard of. Just so incredibly cool. Came in the Masked Rider. Uh, what to Do With, Shogun Samurai. This company, they also started out making more like traditional samurai movies, but then they moved into an area where they wanted to basically get behind and explore the world of horror. So they moved into that area, and then they also moved, I guess, after the '60s, they moved into really focusing on, well, a lot of like sex exploitation movies, uh, and just totally bizarre. And they're all like these really low budget, kind of god. At least it seems to be the case. They're all these like low budget, really strange kind of gonzo exploitation movies. Um, the Blood of Wolves is one that came out fairly recently. They were also involved with Battle Royale, which is a masterpiece, which came out in 2000. I mean, and to think it's the same company, that was involved with the House of Terrors, which came out in '65. Like they've been just turning out movies for decades. It's crazy, and they still retain kind of that grittiness to from what I gather and from what I've seen of the other titles that they've worked on. Just so interesting. And that's one of the coolest things that I love about kind of where I'm at now with this page, and how I've been kind of changing up a little bit on my approach to doing a lot of these reviews, is that I've been just really going into it pretty cold and discovering all of these new things and all of these new worlds, in the world of exploitation. And it's been, such a cool source of discovery, and cool source of inspiration. It's just a great time. And again, that's why I feel Mondo Macabro is my favorite label, because they really specialize in all of these, obscure movies. The director Hajime Sato was a director and actor. He was involved with movies like The Golden Bat in 1966, Captain Ultra in 1967, uh, House of Terrors, Gok, The Body Snatcher, which I've heard and and some doing some research about this film and this director. Gok the Body Snatcher, I've heard, is supposedly like his best work, which I saw a trailer for it and it looks just completely insane. And that came out in 1968. The Terror Beneath in 1966. Yeah, just wild. Future Boy Conan, which came out in 1979. Just wild, just wild. Uh, so I'm, moving forward, I'm very much looking forward to, really exploring this company, this Japanese company, and particularly around Hajime Sato. The special features that I mentioned that is included on the House of Terrors. It's really, really short. It's only like it's less than 10 minutes, but it's so interesting and informative, that it made me really, really interested in checking out more films of his. Um, but yeah, just totally deranged, totally fun, totally campy, totally silly, totally ridiculous, all together. All those ingredients, and ultra low budget. The cinematography for this film, I think, is probably the best part of this movie. The black and white, the atmosphere. I've always talked about my favorite thing about all of these exploitation movies and horror movies in general. If the movie has a really cool atmosphere and draws you in and has this like real mysterious quality, even if it's, say, the acting is terrible, or it's like super uber low budget, or the story goes off the tracks or whatever, and it's like kind of trashy, which I love those elements. Sometimes it, like, obviously, sometimes it really works. But if it has like, even if it's kind of off the rails to a degree, if it has this really cool atmosphere, 99% of the time I'm like in it to win it, and I'm into that movie regardless of those things. And this movie has just incredible atmosphere. I mean, there's certain scenes where the main characters are walking to this mansion to where this whole story takes place, and you're seeing this place, and the music and the way it's shot, and the camera angles, the atmosphere is just breathtaking. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Kind of almost ventures into like a high art or an art film kind of a thing. It's got some of the greatest atmosphere that I've seen in a horror film in a long time. And again, it's like gonzo crazy at the same time. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Such a cool discovery. And again, like I said before, I'm just like so taken aback and so blown away that this came out in 1965, which is just insane. Uh, just awesome. And because of the subjects that are definitely like taboo oriented, where it goes and how it explores those things, particularly around these characters that are having an affair behind one of the main characters' back, and how they basically plot to kill this guy, and it's totally messed up and totally disturbing. And there's this whole sequence where the characters they set up this séance to try to communicate with this ghost, because essentially the movie is a ghost story. But they set up the séance, and there's this whole elaborate sequence where there's a séance, and this woman who acts as like a like a medium, she becomes possessed by the spirit, and it's really intense. Like it's really disturbing and really weird and super strange, and it's really disturbing. And I'm like, again, I was just like, this came out in 1965. Like that's nuts. But fantastic, fantastic movie, House of Terrors. So I highly recommend it if you want to see some really crazy gonzo horror films, especially Japanese. And definitely like part of the old school batch of things, or from the old school world of exploitation. This movie will knock your socks off. It did for me. So 1965, House of Terrors, uh, directed by Hajime Sato. Definitely check this out. In this edition, in particularly, Mondo Macabro, it's amazing. So thanks again. This is Jason D, and I'm going to be signing off, and we will see you next time. Peace.